You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there, I'm Kelly Barner, and today is Friday, September 23rd, 2022.
6.
This week's Procurement 6 is brought to you by Mastermind Live, our 2-day virtual event taking place on October 4th and 5th. Since virtual events can't fall back on beautiful locations, good food, or karaoke, we always go above and beyond to bring you an amazing assortment of thought-provoking experts and executives. And this year's Mastermind Live is no exception. For instance, growth advisor, tech mentor, and turnaround expert Tony Uphoff will share what it takes to formulate an ambitious vision and then go hands-on to bring it to fruition. He will tell us how he did just that while serving as the president and CEO at Thomas, a 100-year-old business that he turned into a modern media enterprise. BP Director of Digital and Innovation Sourcing, Nicholas Wright, and Global Category Manager for Talent and Consulting, Ben Weston, who will talk about how they altered their engagement patterns with the business to build out an effective self-service model for procurement while protecting overall efficiency. And renowned public speaker and former Division I collegiate and NFL football player Lou Alexander will get us fired up for the future by making direct connections between what he calls the athlete's mindset and the leadership challenges being presented to procurement today. Make sure to register by going to artofprocurement.com/calendar to join us live or to get priority access to the recordings on demand.
5.
In this week's Art of Procurement podcast, Philip Eidson is joined by Steve Ashcroft, Director of General Services and Procurement for the African Development Bank Group. One of the parts of their conversation that stood out to me not only demonstrates the important work his organization is doing, but also the mission-critical role that procurement plays within that. Let's listen.
We are based in Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire, but we operate in 44 countries, and the bank is the premier Pan-African development institution. Right? So it was established in 1964, and its purpose is promoting economic growth and social progress across Africa. So if you think of sort of peer organizations, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, so it's a multilateral development bank. So we have 80 member states that are funding and supporting the organization. 54 African, off the top of my head, 27 non-regional. So it's got massive continent and global support. And really the agenda is delivering financial and technical support for frankly transformative projects for sustainable economic growth in Africa. And that's kind of important in the regional sense, because by 2030, 1 in 5 people will actually be African, right? So if you combine the continent's soaring population, the adoption of technology, the improvements in the infrastructure, the improvements in health and education, it really is. I'm being political, I suppose, with a small p. Is that there's just some amazing opportunities here to make a transformative change within the continent. And over the last 10 years, I've made aware that the bank has invested over 40 billion US in infrastructure projects. So this is not a small operation by any means. It's having quite an amazing impact. And I was, to bring that round to full circle. So the mission and the values of the bank to add value to the best of my abilities within a purposeful context was terrifically attractive to me. And trying to bring it back to procurement is also recognise that procurement is an enabler of the delivery of the bank's mandate. We are critical to. I would say this, wouldn't I? But the supply chain is critical to what the bank wishes to achieve. So it's terrific to have that opportunity to support such an organisation that is driving change in Africa.
What a powerful message. We should all be so focused on the mission and potential of procurement and be able to frame it as well as Steve does. You can catch the entire conversation wherever you listen to podcasts on the go or at artofprocurement.com/podcast.
4.
The newest addition to the AOP Resource Center is a research paper based on work we did with the team at Zip Intake to Procure. We looked at how the experience procurement creates for employees affects performance and relationships. Here are a few of the key takeaways. 98% of respondents believe that an employee's experience during the intake to procure process affects the impact procurement is able to have on the organization. 35% of employee-initiated purchases currently require 5 or more approvals before they can be processed. 77% of procurement organizations that report they are seen as strategic advisors or partners to the business also have a single centralized purchase request process. And yet, only 41% of procurement professionals believe they currently have a reputation for being a partner to the business. The findings were really compelling, and we used the paper to explore what they really mean and what they can teach us for future investments in the procurement experience. To read the full report, go to artofprocurement.com/resources and look for white papers, or you can just click the link in today's episode notes.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
In this week's episode of the Sourcing Hero podcast, I was joined by Sarah Kay, an experienced procurement pro who has worked in procurement for many companies that you've no doubt heard of: Target, Radisson Hotel Group, WeWork, and now Spin Mobility. But she actually started her career in marketing and sales, a background that serves her well given today's procurement challenges. In our conversation, Sarah spoke about how procurement can surprise and delight customers, yes, even via indirect spend, and why we need diverse perspectives and voices at every table where decisions are being made. I'm not going to spoil it, but she shares a great, true story during that interview that I promise will change how you look at consensus decision-making forever. To listen, go to una.com or find The Sourcing Hero wherever you listen to podcasts.
2.
In this week's Dial P for Procurement podcast, I took on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, not based on my time in procurement, but because of my original career plan, to work as a librarian. September 18th to the 24th is Banned Books Week, a largely librarian-driven effort to promote freedom of thought and expression. According to the American Library Association, 607 books, films, and newspapers were banned in 2019, a 14% increase year over year. That's worrisome at a time when the challenges we are faced with are greater than ever before. In my opinion, banning books is a proxy for banning ideas and perspectives, something we simply cannot afford to do. Procurement professionals need to have open conversations, even when they are tough, to ensure that all of the best ideas, and the half-baked ones too, are brought to the table. You can find the episode linked in the show notes or in the Dial P for Procurement podcast stream on all major podcast listening platforms.
1.
Before I let you go, I just want to remind you to sign up for Mastermind Live between now and October 4th. Remember, even if you can't join us live, all of the sessions will be immediately available on demand. Unless, of course, you didn't register in advance. Then you have to wait. So why wait? Go to artofprocurement.com/calendar and sign up today.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.